Unleash your creativity with ON1 Effects. Dive into hundreds of presets and quickly whip up your own unique looks with an array of different filters. Easily create your own signature style, hassle-free, with ON1 Effects. ON1 Effects makes it incredibly easy to incorporate style into your photos with hundreds of different presets to choose from and an array of different filters that you can use to build your own custom looks. Let's first start by just adding a preset into the photograph. I'm just going to head over here to the preset drawer, and we have all of these different preset categories to choose from. One of my favorite preset categories is Golden Autumn. If I hover over any of these different presets, it will give me a preview of that preset in action. So if we're going for a warm, moody, almost cinematic vibe that's really popular on social media now, we can choose maybe this one here. But don't worry if you're not really feeling that preset after you've applied it. You can always head back, open up a new category, and still preview that preset in action. So let's use one of these vivid landscape presets here. I'm actually really digging this VL4 option. Let's select that. And you can see on the right-hand side, it's added in different effects filters that are building that style within the scene. We can always adjust or fine-tune these filters that it applies. And we can incorporate other filters into the scene if we want to adjust that style even more. So for this image, let's add a filter, and let's add one of my favorites, Vignette. Let's use Big Softy as a preset style there, and let's just tone it down a little bit so that's not so intense within the photo. And it's looking good. And we created that style in just a few clicks using a preset and then adding on a filter. But let's say we want to create our own style and build it from the ground up. We'll just reset our effects tab there, and we're back to the original image. I'll just hide my preset drawer. That way we have a full view of the image. Let's add a filter. And in the filters pane here, we have all of these different filters to choose from that we can use to build our own custom style. For this scene, let's actually go in and we'll add a nice black and white. In the black and white filter, I typically go into this More menu. I can open this up and I can just scroll down these different styles to see what works for the scene that I'm editing. And I think I'm digging this red option there. So let's choose that. And let's also go in, we'll add another filter. Let's add one of my favorites, the glow filter. And let's use this darker preset here to give it a nice bit of glow on that right-hand side. Now the great thing about these filters is we can mask them in or away from any different region that we need to. I'm just gonna hit B on my keyboard and I'll mask this away from the rocks to the left so that they're not so dark within the scene. Let's add another filter and let's add dynamic contrast here. Now with dynamic contrast, you can use it to bring out details and textures within the scene, but I don't want it applied to the entirety of the photograph. I mainly want it just applied to this left-hand side with this rocky region where our subjects are. So I'm just gonna invert this mask here so that I can mask it in manually. And I'll just paint this in to that left-hand side of rocks where our subjects are standing. From there, let's actually go in and modify this dynamic contrast filter. I'm gonna pull up on this small detail there to give it a little bit more texture. And then I'm gonna pull up on my shadows to reveal a little bit more of those rocks. Let's just tone this down a little bit with the opacity slider to fine tune and fit it to the scene. And if we hit the backslash key on our keyboard, we have an elegant black and white photograph in just a few clicks using those different filters instead of ON1 Effects. Another great thing about ON1 Effects is you can actually go in and use local adjustments if you need to modify the tone or color in specific regions. So for example, our sky region may need a little bit more detail and contrast. So let's go into our local adjustments here. And I'll use this local adjustment to paint in over the sky region and give it a little bit more mood to enhance the scene a bit. And remember, we can always modify that opacity if it's a little bit too intense. I'll just pull back on the opacity a little bit there. I'll add in some contrast, and I may boost the whites just a hair there to ensure things look nice and detailed. So let's just scrub through the before and after here. And I'm really digging our moody black and white that we created in just a few clicks there inside of ON1 Effects. And let's do one last thing to top this image off here. I'm going to go back into the Effects tab. I'll add a filter. And let's give this scene an elegant white border. I'll just fit the image to ensure that we have all of that image in that border that we need. And I'm really digging this classy white border around that scene, especially with that black and white look applied to it. That's the power of ON1 Effects. It's incredibly easy to incorporate style, detail, or any other look into your scene, even if it's in a specific region or specific area of that photograph.